Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm taking a first look at the new 2026 modular building which has just been announced by LEGO. It's set 11371 Shopping Street, and while I haven't got my hands on a set yet, this looks like it could be a very nice addition to my LEGO City of Harmonia. So let's have a first look at this new offering, the Shopping Street modular building. Every year for the past 20 years, LEGO has been releasing a new modular building, usually in January, and next year is, I'm pleased to say, no exception. These sets have been very popular, first in the LEGO Creator Expert branding, and more recently in the Icons branding. There have also been a few sets that are modular compatible, but branded differently, such as the Sanctum Sanctorum set, the Daily Bugle set, the X-Mansion set, and the Botanical Garden set, if you count that as a building. This latest addition to the modular buildings line is on a single 32 by 32 base plate, and it's presented as a straight modular with the modular connection points on the sides. The set contains two shops with a little alley at an angle through the centre, and as usual, workshops or apartments above the shops. It makes a feature of some walls at eye-catching angles, and there are ornate details on the facades and some interesting architectural features, and a small triangular public space or plaza in the front. This new set appears to be a kind of crossover between the Assembly Square set and the Boutique Hotel set. This set has shops and a little square with a statue, a bit like the Assembly Square set has shops and a small square with a fountain. This set has angled walls with a kind of rounded end featuring pillars and a dome on top, rather similar to the angled walls, rounded end with pillars and dome on top of the Boutique Hotel. The larger building on the left includes a two-storey music shop, while the smaller building on the right seems to be a small furniture shop and workshop. The top floor is home to a furnished flat, and LEGO seem to have used my idea from my recent corner deli mock and added a roof garden with some plants on top of the smaller building. But I do like that it's accessed by a door from the apartment. The set includes 7 minifigures, and we'll have a quick look at those in a minute. One of the first things that strikes me about this modular building is that very little of it seems to be at a straight angle. LEGO are obviously progressing the idea of building at angles, as shown in the Boutique Hotel and more recently in the Italian Riviera set, although they use different techniques. Both of the shop fronts are presented at an angle, and it's really only the side walls that are straight on to the edges of the base plate. The angled facade of the brown building will be interesting to build. I thought at first this was going to be a complex curve with multiple sections, but it just turns out to be a single angled wall. I'm still curious to see how it connects to the base plate and how the floor and the roof are made to fit the angle without any unsightly gaps. The taller building on the left is also built with multiple angled walls. There's clearly something clever going on with all these angles, especially looking at this top-down view where there appears to be 2 walls of different lengths but working at the same angle, with other walls at right angles. It's possible that these just float on tiles over the base plate, or they're connected just at a couple of points to the base plate. From what I can see, the larger building uses the same angle technique as the boutique hotel, but there are many more elements of this design built at an angle. The angles mean that the space inside the shops and the floors above is rather restricted by the angled shapes of the rooms. But I do notice that the buildings extend further back on the base plate than your normal 16 stud deep modular building, and that additional use of the otherwise wasted space on the base plate does contribute a bit more to the inside space and compensate for the angled floor spaces. The two buildings do present a nice contrast, with the difference in height between the buildings and their different colour schemes. The 4 stories of the tower on the taller building, in its standout white colour scheme, give a sense of scale to the building, even though it's actually quite narrow. Both buildings have a different colour for the ground floor and the upper floors. Although the different colours make this a very colourful build, for me it's bordering on getting a bit garish and toy-like. So let's look at the colours used. The taller building on the left has a ground floor in sand green, a colour not really used in modular buildings before, and the upper stories are in white, which hasn't really been seen since the brick bank, unless you count the botanical garden. In fact, the colour scheme does remind me a bit of the brick bank, as it has a white upper story with sand green windows. But then so did the botanical garden, so I'm surprised they're using this colour scheme again. But the dark blue roof adds another colour, and with the banding on the facade in tan, the base of the tower in a different colour, window boxes in dark orange, red canopies and gold highlights, it feels like there's a lot of colours going on in this building. The building on the right is shorter, but also has a different colour for the ground floor, which is dark orange, supporting a single upper story in dark tan or sand yellow, which we also don't see that much of in the recent line of modular buildings. However, I do think the window surrounds and arches in tan or brick yellow add a suitable contrast to break up what would otherwise be a dark exterior. Now this set is called Shopping Street, and personally I think the name is a bit of a misnomer. It's hardly a street, as it's only 2 stores, and the diagonal alley, I have to say that carefully, is not really a street either, and would be difficult to extend into a proper shopping street. Although it would be fun to try to use something like the Sherlock Holmes book nook as an extension to the alley, it would be rather difficult to see down into the alley from the front. Although I do like the contrast in height between the buildings, the one on the right looks a bit short to be a proper town centre building. The taller white building includes a 2-storey musical instrument shop with marching band instruments, perhaps a rather niche market, but an excuse for some creative play with gold elements to make the instruments themselves, including, it seems, a copy of Riker's trombone from the Enterprise set. Not sure how that got here. The brown building is meant to represent a furniture shop, but seems far too small to include any furniture. I suppose it's meant to be more of a design studio with a workshop above than a full-on furniture shop. In some ways it might have been better for the furniture store to be in the larger space in the other building, so there's actually some room for some furniture. I'm really not a fan of the dark blue roof, and not just because of the colour, which I thought looked fine on the Parisian restaurant. The roof looks like it's pretending to be a mansard roof without offering enough height for proper windows and a minifig scale attic space like we got in the Sanctum Sanctorum, which I modified to be a more useful space. See this video. This is despite the tower extending upwards to a rather shortened top level, but I can't be too critical at this stage, and we'll have to judge the quality of the model when I see this set for myself. 7 minifigures come with the set, but 2 of those are young members of a marching band. I'm not quite sure what the storyline is supposed to be with this set. Presumably these guys are buying instruments, so perhaps there is a demand for this in a LEGO city. Perhaps the mum is buying the little girl a new shako to match her outfit for the $5 in her hand. Or perhaps the little boy is upset that he's had to trade in his instrument and the mum has only received $5 for it. Anyway, also among the minifigs there's the shopkeeper, a woman who's probably the furniture maker with an apron that extends as a print down to her legs, an older looking maintenance man, and a guy with a trolley transporting a chair with transparent flippers for a chair back. It took me a while to work that one out. I'm sure these are lovely minifigs, but I'm not sure whether my LEGO City really needs a marching band. As I haven't got my hands on a set yet, I can't show you the build. It seems to maintain the standard format for a modular building with a single 32 by 32 base plate and connection points on the side, so it should be completely compatible with other modular buildings. It looks like there are some pretty chunky sections of the build, and the upper floors are all one big section, rather than being built as separate parts and then stacked together. It does look like there are some new parts, or at least parts in new colours, some novel part usage, and some interesting build techniques to discover with this set, as there are with all the modulars. For example, it looks like the base of the tower is somehow built upside down, and this reminds me of the bottom of the bow window in the brownstone townhouse of the Pet Shop set. There's some interesting detailing in the pavement, which looks like it could be very fiddly. Some parts of the build clearly use sideways building, including the floor of the little passageway and the stairs inside the larger shop. I'd like to see how the upper level of the smaller shop is reached as well. In the workshop above the store, a woman appears to be making knock-off versions of the original LEGO wooden duck. I don't know if LEGO would approve, but then they designed the set, so it must be okay. Clearly there are quite a few side builds, and the designers have gone to some lengths to include some Easter eggs, like the duck, and other details such as the musical instruments and the woodworking vice in the workshop. And of course, we can't judge the quality of the build experience from the pictures, so we'll have to suspend judgment on that. I will say that I'm pretty happy that this modular has a clearly European flavour, although not really fitting into any specific architectural style. Certainly compared with a building like the Parisian restaurant, it lacks a defined style and looks rather incoherent. The LEGO images show it placed next to the Natural History Museum, although in my opinion that just highlights the relatively low height of the museum, and it might be more suitably placed next to the blue building in the recent Tudor Corner set. This set is retailing at £220, €250 or $250, which seems a lot more than the £150 that they used to be, but I suppose this is now pretty standard for a modular building at full price, even one that's only on a single base plate. With its interesting facade and some variety in colours, I think it could make a suitable addition to my LEGO City of Harmonia. I'm not really sure where it would go. It doesn't fit into a medieval town centre, and it would look out of place in a modern business district. Perhaps its colourful buildings would fit well with my recent MOC, the Corner Deli, which I also designed to be in a European style. If so, that sounds like I need to expand the Old Town part of my LEGO City to accommodate this building and perhaps some others. What do you think about this building? Do you like it at all? And should I be getting this as an essential addition to my European style City of Harmonia? Do let me know in the comments below. And of course, please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the developments of LEGO builds, my own designs and updates on my LEGO City.